So, this is a Substack Live and a podcast where we're going to be talking about our experience and expertise in helping small farms learn how to market themselves properly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So,
that's so important.
it is. It's vital. It's crucial, right? So if you are a small farmer joining us, welcome, welcome. Also, small food businesses, and of course, we're discussing principles and applications that apply to any business. But
Right.
our focus and our passion is for small farmers. Charlie, a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I have a full-time job with USDA. I've been in agriculture I grew up on a farm, I live on a working farm. So I've been in the industry my entire life. With USDA, I help farmers and ranchers with, price support, conservation programs, farm loans, that sort of thing. And then 2 years ago, I started, writing for agribusinesses just in like a ghostwriting sense. And then I started noticing, there's a lot of things that they could do in terms of marketing themselves better and just telling the story. And so it kind of like, I never thought about starting a Substack. And then I think I joined in May of last year and did absolutely nothing with it. I was just a stalker. I just sat there. And then I decided like maybe I should start sharing like some of these, writing frameworks and things that have worked to help these other businesses grow. Maybe we can start doing that with small farms. And I use some of them on our own farm, Back Creek Acres. We have a show pig business. I have a direct market garden, and then we also sell direct market beef. So it's just, trying to get the word out and trying to help these small businesses, especially rural businesses, to realize that, there are different ways to skin a cat and there's ways to actually generate livable income from agriculture. So that's what I'm trying to share on my Substack. That's what I'm trying to help with. Just if people come up and talk to me, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So what about you?
That's wonderful. Yeah. So Liz Reitzig, I publish under Raw Milk Mama on Substack. And if you're listening to this later, it's the Nourishing Liberty podcast, where we talk all about our food systems and how we fit into them. And Charlie, my entry into small farm marketing was actually a little more roundabout. I did not grow up on a farm. Wish I had now, but that is not part of my history. And as I was searching for good food for my children, I realized like how hard it is to find it and how hard it is to connect with these small local farms. And it was really that work that got me involved in understanding this process. I started a local food business to work with some of the local farms. And then I worked for a PR and marketing firm for about 10 years. I loved everything I learned there. And I figured, let's put all of this together, my own experience with the business and with some other friends' businesses in the food world, with what I know and understand from the PR and marketing world. And uh, it's such a wonderful journey because I get to help farmers find their voices. And the whole point of this is to grow their business, to grow our local food communities, to heal and nourish our ecosystems. So for me, there's a much bigger purpose behind all of it. It's not just about revenue, 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 although that is an important measurement. It's really about making those connections within communities for the purposes that we're passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that we have different journeys and different, like, ways of looking at this because I think it's really complementary. And I think that anybody can hopefully take away some tips from this show today that they can implement in their own business and see results with it. So I'm excited.
And if you're a writer on Substack, there will be key things that you can do from what we talked about today.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was trying to read. I'm still new to this live stuff, so I think we have a comment, but I'm not sure how to
Yeah,
see it,
this
so
is
I'll let you do that.
Edelweiss Farm, and uh, just took the latest DRP,
Mm,
all these acronyms.
yeah.
My
I mean,
career with USDA is now over. However, after I take off a few weeks to decompress, I'll start posting more about my farm and the new farm related business I plan to start. Awesome. You are in the right
nice.
place.
Absolutely.
We are talking about these beginning stages today.
Yes. Yeah, and good for you, Edelweiss, for taking the DRP and doing what you need to do. And yeah, let's get that farm business going for you.
Yes. Well, Charlie, should I start off with talking about vision?
Yes, I think that's a great place to start.
All right. So, a little bit of background here. There are several farming organizations in our area, and I'm part of many of them. And regularly, I get asked to teach a workshop on small farms getting their business plan going and their like bare bones beginner marketing strategy set. So, I'm pulling from some of that, and this is primarily, but not exclusively, for those at the very early stages. And I know as we talk, we're going to cover a little bit more, but I want to start off with talking about big picture visioning. Like,
Hmm.
why is this important? What is it for? And how does this fit into your overall business plan and marketing strategy? So, Charlie, here's what I tell new farmers. Like, if I decide that I want to go to South America and I just show up at the airport and ask for a ticket at the ticket booth, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And so, just like with travel, if I decide I want to go see the pyramids in South America, I need to know where that is, where I'm getting a ticket for, which airline I'm going for. I've got to have my passport. I've got to have everything.
Yeah,
But my vision is like, hey, I want to go see those pyramids in South America. That's my vision.
right.
And so, if you're a small farm and you're just starting, what is that for you? Because
Yeah,
once you have your vision, you can start putting all those other things in place. Are you in animal agriculture? Maybe you want to grow seeds to sell seeds or produce and you want to work at the farmer's market. But understand first and foremost for yourself what that vision is.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think too, you have to have the passion for your business, the passion for your project that you're starting. But like you said, you also have to have a direction. So you also have to know, like, okay, what are some things that I both want to do? Like, I want to go see the pyramids, but then what do I want to do when I get there? So, what are the things that, I talk a lot about problem solving. So what is a problem that you are seeing, in your industry, in your operation, or even in your local community that your farm business can solve? Like, is it a lack of awareness about, where to even get local produce? Or is it you know, people just don't even understand that you can buy direct from a farm? Like, what are some of those problems that you're seeing in your area that you can take that vision then and say, okay, this is ultimately where I want to go. And then this is the problem that I want to solve to do it.
Yes. And I know many of us can imagine that neat little Venn diagram that says problem you're solving and what I want to do, and finding that little space in between. That's your sweet spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, the caveat of everything you're saying is like, yes, it's also got to be what you like to do. And you don't want to raise cattle, then don't raise cattle. Just if even if it's going to solve a problem for other people, don't do it.
Right, right. Yeah, and that ties back into what you said at the start, where it's not just about revenue. Like, yes, we need to make it sustainable for you, but you also need to feel fulfilled and feel like you have a bigger purpose with it. And that's what I think, you're talking about with like this, we call it like a value proposition canvas, where it's like, what are the challenges that you're facing? But ultimately, what do you believe in? Like, what do you want to help solve within your own local community? I think start there and then you can eventually it's like a ripple effect. Then you can work outwards, but just start really, really small to keep it manageable, right when you're getting started.
Absolutely. And another thing that I always encourage farmers to do with a business plan is, first of all, there's not one size fits all business plan. And Charlie,
Right.
it looks like, we've got some similar background in terms of the value proposition canvas and how to do that. And understanding that first and foremost, that business plan is for you. It's to
Yes.
remind you on those rainy days why the heck you're doing this. And it's to remind you where you're going. So I really encourage you to start with, I don't care if it's a business plan on one sheet of paper. Just start with some kind of business plan that has maybe even just a one sentence vision. Start somewhere. Get
Yeah.
that down on paper. You can always come back to it. I mean, you should see my scribbles from over the years. Like, I have like banners of just scribbles and small little sheets of paper. So just start because the more you do it, the more it's going to generate as well.
Yeah, and I think one other important thing to note about this whole vision thing is like it is probably going to change over time, and that's totally okay. Like, do not feel like, I mean, I'm very type A, so I'm like, I need a plan. I need to go A, B, C, D, but sometimes we all know life does its thing, and sometimes we go A, D, H. And so it's like, don't worry about it. Like, just kind of see where it takes you and let the community and the feedback that you get kind of help you decide, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go, or it's going to change. Basically, it's going to change, and that's okay. You're not married to it, but like Liz said, just start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So
Yeah. And I want to put in one more, I think, a word of caution here, which is I think it's so easy, especially these days, to see something else external and get those feelings of envy and disillusionment, discouragement, right? Like
yes.
you see that shiny farm that's got everything perfect, and it just suddenly you feel like, oh, I can't do it. And I want to say a couple words of caution there that every farm and every farm business is unique and has something specific to offer.
Yes.
And there is that whole adage of don't compare your insides with somebody else's outsides. And those farms that look like they're making it, I mean, some of them are legit, but the really shiny ones have multi-thousand-dollar PR and marketing strategists and workers involved in that. And you have something unique. Even if you can't do that, don't want to, whatever, you have something unique to offer. And that is actually what we need more of right now, not the small farm empires that we're seeing popping up. We need this hyper local, community to community, people connecting. That's what we need so much more of. So let micro farming or small farming, let that be one of your shining points, especially as you're just starting out.
Yeah. And some of those, what you think are bigger operations, they may have been doing this for decades. And like Liz said, they may have PR teams that are running 24/7 for them. And we'll talk about some ways that you can kind of create your own, PR system that works for you, but they don't have your local community. Like just like Liz said, like they live in, place A, you live in place B. And so use your local community as your little ecosystem and what you can really make better. And that's going to make all the difference for your operation.
Yes. Oh, so I want to back up a little bit, Charlie, and say, like, in this particular episode, we are covering that bit about visioning, creating and crafting your vision for your small farm business and upgrading your internet presence.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about, are you measuring the right thing? So that's the agenda for today, your vision, and then your internet presence, and then are you measuring the right thing? And how do you know what to measure? That's what we're covering today, but we will be doing a series of these talks, some for everyone, and then some specifically for our paid subscriber bases, because this is what we both offer professionally as well. So if you're interested in all of that, go ahead and follow, subscribe, whatever you want, and stay tuned to these because we're going to be giving out quite a bit of valuable information as we do this series.
Yeah, for sure. So, and, let us know in the comments, like we can take that feedback and put it into the next sessions. That's really helpful to kind of we want it to be very, tailored to what you need as much as we possibly can, having like a large group. So please provide feedback. Please let us know the topics that you're struggling with as we go along, and we'll try to hit those in future sessions. So,
Definitely. And there is one question here.
yeah.
Little Flowers Organic Bakery. What about being a micro bakery while working towards being a homesteader and finding land? somebody's got their vision.
I love how specific that is. Yeah, go ahead, Liz.
No, you go.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, we're all human. So, we all have a lot of hats that we wear and we all do a lot of things. Right. And so, I think that, now that you kind of know exactly which direction you're going to go in, I think some of the tips that we're going to talk about here today in just a bit will really help you kind of cement, like, okay, how can I piece those two things together to really make it to where I have a clear path forward? So, I think it's totally fine if you have, you're doing one thing now, but you ultimately want to do another thing down the road. And that's what we talked about earlier. Like, it's okay to change, it's okay to merge things, it's okay to kind of make a, you know, I'm thinking of like kids with finger paint, like just kind of mixing it all together. Like, it's okay. Take a deep breath. That like will help you kind of find a path forward with that, to make it, make it work for you. And that's what Liz said. Like, it's specific to you. And so it's totally okay that you have these two visions, and then we can kind of help you put those together.
And then real quick, just answering Edelweiss on business plan. So I really love, there's a tool called the Business Model Canvas, and you can find all kinds of versions out there. But I'm a big believer in that first business plan that needs to be for you.
Yes.
Like the one that you're going to do for the bank to get the loan or for the whatever to get the grant or whatever else, that will come later. But if you actually sit down and answer some of those questions, that business plan is for you and it's your compass that you're going to be carrying with you through this whole journey. It will change. So you're going to trade one compass for another. But the point is that that's going to keep you going and it's going to keep you thinking about what is important to me. Is this working? How is this working? Why is this working? Why am I doing this? It's going to answer
Yeah.
some of those questions for you.
Yep, for sure.
All right, Charlie, you want to tackle upgrading your internet presence? This
Yeah.
is a
So
big thing for a lot of small farms.
I know. And I feel like as soon as we say this, people go, oh my gosh, I don't want to be on the internet. I don't know how. Like, I know my father in law, he just got a smartphone, like, has never had email, anything like that. So, and even in my job, I see a lot of farmers, just really, really still hesitant about having an online presence. But unfortunately, if you really do want to have this type of operation that Liz and I are talking about, where you can, really wrap a community around you and move forward with it, you do need one. But again, it does not have to be anything super fancy. I don't want people to get overwhelmed with this. Like, in my own business for our own farm, I think the most important things are just having a simple landing page, which a landing page is just a one-page website. It does not have to be anything fancy. Like I said, you can do this with free software. You can do it with, I think I pay $19 a month or a year. It's called Card. You can even do it within other programs. So just a one-page website to start. Make sure it has the information on there about how to contact you, where you're located, and most importantly, to have it tell your farm story. So, taking that vision that we talked about, make sure that you put that story on there too, so that people can really get a sense of who you are and why what you're doing matters and why it should matter to them, and what problem you're solving. So, making sure that you have that one page landing page, making sure that you also can have an email set up so that people can contact you, because that's really important. You don't want just social media followers because they don't really mean much to your business to start. They can watch you, they can support you. We all love the vanity metrics, how many likes, comments, engagements we get, but you really want to capture your eyeballs that you're driving to your online presence. And the way that you do that is through having an email list. So even if it's just writing it down on a piece of paper to start, make sure everybody that comes to your farm stand, everybody that you talk to out in the community, everybody that you meet at the local farmers market, like, get their email address and start getting a list of customers that you can then contact anytime you want.
Absolutely. I'll add a note to that, Charlie, and this is from the customer perspective, or like this is advice to customers. So, what I want to say about that is look, if you're a buyer, if you're buying from small farms, what you want is a really good farmer, right?
Yes.
You want somebody who reads the farming magazines and goes to the farming conferences, not the beautiful, flashy internet magazines and those
Right.
conferences. So give a lot of grace here as a customer. Give a lot of grace and maybe even, I will say this, maybe even seek out the farmers who seem to be putting more effort into their farming than their marketing. And, I say that even as a marketer. So it's important. Like I look for that as,
Yeah.
I have to feed my family. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, I'm not looking for the flashiest website. I avoid them. And
Yeah.
I avoid the ones that like have promos everywhere because that to me, it says that their effort, their energy, their motivation is going into big, 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 not better, 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 better.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I mean, think about how you buy things. Like, think of yourself, like Liz said, as the consumer. Like, if you go to a website and all they do is like push ads in your face or offer you discounts or, things like that, like, you don't buy from people you don't trust, right? Like, you look at reviews, you read, what people's opinions on things. You might watch some YouTube videos or whatever, talk to people, like, I'm not really going to buy from someone that I don't trust. And so if I can't feel the person or see the person behind the content, like, I'm probably going to go to the next farm down the road or somebody that I trust or that my friend said I can trust. So, like Liz said, all the images, all the fancy marketing in the world, it doesn't matter if you don't have a one-on-one relationship or like a personal connection that you've built with that farmer. And so be that person that your customers want to see. Be that person that they trust. And that's why it's more important to have your story on your website than any sort of flashy like graphics or anything like that.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. And
Yeah.
that true story. Right? Don't try to tell a
Yes.
story
Yeah,
that's
don't
not true just to get customers.
right.
And then Charlie, one thing I like to remind all of the businesses that I work with is, believe it or not, your most likely customer is someone who's bought from you before.
Yes.
And what Charlie's saying in building that trust, it's it really is about those repeat sales. Because if you think about, if you're starting a farm and you get 5 customers in week 1 and 4 of them are repeat routine buyers, you just took, maybe the average sale is, I don't know, $30 a week for each of those customers, maybe 40, maybe it's 100, maybe they're doing a lot of shopping there. But if you take that and expand that over the course of, let's say, 48 weeks per year for 10 years, 15 years, that's amazing. That's the envy of literally every business. Every business is seeking repeat customers, that customer loyalty, and that revenue year after year after year from the same customer.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so important, like on your digital presence, whether that is a landing page, which would be my recommendation, whether you just start with, say, a Facebook page or something like that, have somewhere that you can gather that customer feedback both online. In addition to if somebody comes directly to your farm, have the conversation. Like, I know as farmers, I'm an introvert. I don't really like to talk to people. I mean, I do, but like, it's not my favorite thing, right? So, like, but you have to have the conversation. Like, just treat people like the human beings that they are. Ask questions, ask for feedback, and they'll tell you what they want. And then when you provide it to them, they'll be a loyal customer, most likely for life, maybe even generational. And that's, like Liz said, like, that's the envy, that's the end goal. These one off customers, yes, it's great for revenue, maybe, but that's not going to build you a sustainable business.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in terms of, digital presence, keep it very simple. I can even, and I'm sure Liz has too, like I can even provide, a template of what a landing page, should look like, with an email capture form on it. And if that would be helpful, you guys can let us know. And, happy to just provide that for you to give you a place to start. Just keep it super simple. Tell the story, have the conversations, and just have that kind of minimal online presence.
So, Charlie, I noticed that you did not say join every social media and make sure you post daily and blah, blah,
Didn't.
blah. Talk about that for a moment. I have really strong opinions on that one. So, I want to hear from you first, and then I'll tone down my
Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to, like, stay off my soapbox on this one too, but, yeah, gosh, there's so many marketers out there that are like, "Oh, you have to be on social media, you have to be on all the platforms," like and my recommendation from my own experience and then, from helping others is yes, social media, I wouldn't even say it's necessary, but it is going to help you. But my recommendation would be to start with asking yourself some questions like where are, your customers gathering? So it's like the office, watering station, whatever they call it. I
water
don't know.
cooler.
Water cooler, yes, thank you. Where are people gathering? Is that Facebook? Is that Instagram? Is that, YouTube? Is that Substack? Where is your target audience actually at? Because you don't want to be talking into the void, and having people ignore you. That's too much work. So where are your customers gathering? What type of content do you like to, put out there? Do you like to write? Do you like to do video? Do you like to take fancy pictures? Like I I am not a videographer. I'm not a photographer. That's why I'm on Substack. I like to write. That's easiest for me. Make it easy for yourself. Don't pick a platform that you're going to hate posting content on. And start with one. Like just start with one. You do not need to be on all the platforms. Pick the one where your audience is and that you feel the most comfortable with, as far as the medium of that. And then I know the magic number a lot of marketers say is like 10,000. Once you get to 10,000 followers, subscribers, whatever, then maybe look into going to other platforms. But if you're doing this all by yourself, which a lot of us are, we don't have time to do 5 different platforms with 5 different mediums. Like that's not sustainable. So find out where your customers are at, pick that platform that you like to actually post content on, and just stick with that. You know, you can stick with that forever. You don't have to expand beyond that if you don't want to. I think that's a big misconception. So I will shut up and let Liz say her part too.
All right. So this bit is going to segue a little bit into, are you measuring the right thing? So this is about internet presence and measurement. So the final ultimate rule is is it working? If it's
Yes.
working, keep doing it. Now, that being said, I have some really strong opinions on social media because it's gotten so messy. People get deplatformed. So
Yeah.
I do not encourage, if you're not already on social media, I do not encourage that as an important place to be for any reason, for any small farms marketing. And here's why, Charlie, because we talked a little bit about that trust factor.
Mm.
And that's about building a relationship. And that
Yeah.
building a relationship is about being able to communicate intimately.
Yep.
And so that means really sharing what's going on in a way that's authentic to you. If that's through pictures, great, through writing, through video. But that is what is going to connect to your customer, your ideal customer, the person who's going to keep coming back because they trust you, because you are communicating intimately. You're saying, it was a really hard morning on the farm. It rained, it was cold. That's relatable. And if you're just trying to meet metrics of publishing to different social media pages or doing X number of posts per week or per day or X number of video, X number of pictures, and then you're looking at likes and reshares and all the things that we get so tempted into glomming onto, you're losing that relationship.
Yep. Yeah.
And ultimately, if you're building a business, you have to have revenue. And if you start measuring likes and shares and whatever's, views, you're not measuring revenue. And it all has to come back to revenue. So, that being said, I know a couple of farms that are primarily using Facebook to share and do whatever they're doing, and it's working for them for now.
Yep.
So, if it's working, keep doing what's working. But keep in mind that you also do not have control over any of the social media platforms and what they promote and what they minimize and who they ban, all of those things. You don't own any of that. So if you can stick to what you own, like Charlie was saying, get your email list going, get your own website going, even a really simple one that you can own and you have control over. That's gold right there.
Yeah, that is so, so important. And I think that's why you and I love Substack so much, is because, like, you know, you can take your Substack followers anywhere you want. Like, you own them. If you want to export your your subscribers as an Excel spreadsheet and take them somewhere else, like, do it. Like that, you own them. And that's, you know, what did we see like at the turn of the year here where TikTok went down for 12 hours in the US? Like everybody that had millions of followers on TikTok, if they didn't have any way to contact those millions of people, their whole entire business is gone in an instant. And it like Liz said, it's completely out of your control. So if there's one thing that you take away from this to starting a sustainable business that you can control, it's please, please, please build an owned audience. And that
Yeah,
starts with email, off of your websites. Like that, just please build an email list if you do nothing else from this.
absolutely. Build that email list. Now, I've got a quick analogy for you. So if you're a farmer and you buy seeds from this one seed company and you plant them and like none of them sprout, or maybe like 1% of them sprout, and then you like try harder and buy more seeds from the same company the next year and plant more, or do you try something else? Right. So sometimes that can be like the social media vicious cycle where you're not getting what you need on social media. So you try harder and you put more in, or you back off and you're like, hey, I need to try something, a different seed company entirely. So think of it that way too. It's like, yes, everywhere you're always planting seeds, but are those seeds actually doing anything?
Yes, I love that analogy. Yeah. And so I think that really segues great into our, third topic for today, which is like, how do you know what to measure and what do you actually measure to know if you're actually planting seeds in the right place? So, do you want to start with that, Liz?
Sure, I'll talk about that a little bit. So, we have this thing in the marketing world that we call conversions. And that, in a nutshell, that explains like if you meet somebody and they, like, let's not even say meet. If somebody sees your website and then they decide to click a button on that website or give you their email address, that's considered one conversion. And this is just an easy way to explain natural human interactions in this weird digital age we're in. And another conversion might be they get an email from you. So that's one. They click the button on the website to give their email. And then you as a responsible business owner are emailing them every week to say, here's what's available on the farm, here's how to put your order in, and oh, by the way, the cow had her calf. And then from that email, they click the buy now button and they go to your website and they buy something. That's another conversion. And ultimately, what you want is you want those conversions to happen. And you can measure any of them. And really and truly, what you're measuring for, if you're a business, you need to measure revenue. So, how many of those conversions end up as revenue? And then another thing to look at is, are they telling other people? That's important. And that's where you're building this intimate, trust based relationship with your customers. If you're doing a good job, they're telling other people, they're telling their friends, go buy from Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Check out this beef. It's so amazing. So these are all conversions. These are all measurable events. you can track it. Like you can look at your website and see how many people came to it, how many people clicked. Look at your email and see how many people opened it, which opening itself is not a metric I measure or not one
Right.
I worry about. But from that email, how many clicked to buy?
Yeah.
What does that turn into in revenue? And at this point, Charlie, I'm just totally rambling at this point, but just going from thing to thing. So interrupt me at any point. But
Well, I
there's
think
two
that
things.
makes a lot of sense though. Like, I mean, because that's the ultimate goal, right? It's like, sorry, my dogs are going to probably bump me. They're horribly neglected, but that's the thing. Like, your goal is to take your customer to get your customer to take the very next step. We don't care necessarily right now, like what's 5 steps down the road. Like when you do something with your customer, when you interact with them, what's the very next step in that process to ultimately get to that sale for you? So it's landing on your website. Then the next step would be maybe putting their email in. Then the next step would be opening that email. And then the next step would be clicking a link in that email. And then ultimately, that link would get them to buy. So I think just what you said, like, break it down like that. Make sure you're measuring how many people are going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. And then that's going to tell you, okay, maybe I have an issue here. Maybe I need to look at this step because people are dropping off here or it's working really well. Like what am I doing well that I can do in step 3? And so I think that's how I look at it too, or that's how I help, my clients look at it, to just make it super, super simple like that.
Definitely. And then there's also the other component of that. Once they get to that purchase point, there's a couple of things that you can look at. Like, do you want to increase overall number of sales or do you want to increase overall size of each sale? And if you think about it in terms of, since most farmers are in some capacity selling food, we can use a grocery store cart analogy. Like, do you want more carts going through your store or do you want each of those carts to be fuller?
Yep,
And
exactly.
as you're going through your business plan, your marketing strategy, be thinking about that. Like, who is your primary customer? Um, is it dad's grilling or is it mom's feeding children? I mean, these are just way oversimplified, but you get the point. And then how do you get them to add one more thing? And not in a tricky way. Like, we're not here
Right.
to manipulate people and get them to do things in a tricky way. We're genuinely here to build that relationship, build that trust so you have consistent customers over a long period of time.
Yeah, and I think something too to keep in mind, like we know that farming and agriculture can be very seasonal, based on where you live. And so, like Liz was saying, if you're in a place where you're selling fresh produce, but you can't grow produce in the wintertime, then maybe your goal is to increase the size of someone's cart versus, increase the number of carts that you get over a period of time because your time period is shorter. So it's things like that that you need to think about depending on your own operation. Like everybody's operation is unique. And so everybody's on their own journey with this. So what works for your neighbor's farm down the road might not, be the right thing for you. And so think about those types of things too in terms of like what measurements make the most sense for me and my business, in where I'm at right now.
Yeah, Charlie, I have a short story on that.
Yeah.
One of the farms I work with is a small dairy, and they have an on farm creamery where they make ice cream. And of course, summer, right? Of
Yes.
course, their sales are completely imbalanced in summer and winter. But apparently, like in sometime in February, I think, there's some kind of, I mean, this is all marketing gimmicks, right? So take note. There's some kind of um, national or international ice cream for breakfast day.
Okay.
I mean, wild, right? Sign me up, I'm there.
Right. Yeah.
But they like they were blown away. They did the promotional stuff ahead of time. And it was like their highest ever revenue day, higher than July 4th and the summer holidays. And so if you talk about it right, and that is literally letting people know you are on the map,
Mhm.
then small things like that can have huge impact.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so I think that's all of those are really helpful metrics to measure to start, and you can go down the rabbit hole with any of this stuff, and I would actually discourage you, like, just, stick to one thing right now. Don't look on Google. Don't listen to all the marketing gurus and the crypto bros, as we call them, like
Mhm.
just focus on these simple steps that we're giving you and, put your blinders on and you'll start to see the changes happen. You'll start to see growth, where you need it. So,
Absolutely. And it takes time.
yes.
It really takes time to build those relationships and build that trust. I mean, think of it as do you know those whole dating analogies in the marketing world? And think of it
Yeah.
as that journey. It's like you don't walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, you want to get married?"
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You start like with hello. What's
Right.
your name? Right? So as you're building that website, it's not like, "Hey, here, buy this." It's like, "Here's my name. Here's what I do. You want to go out for coffee sometime?"
Yeah. And I know, Liz, it's tough, like, especially when we're small businesses, like, and we're doing everything ourselves and we need to put food on our own tables. Like, it's tough. You really sometimes like need to make that sale and need to get that revenue coming in. But that's where like other people can come in and help so that you don't, come across as salesy or spammy at first. Like, so that you do the small things, the slow things that actually build the community around you. And it's kind of like a snowball effect or a flywheel, some of the marketers will call it, where it just builds momentum over time. But just in the beginning, like I'm one of the most impatient people I know. Like it's so hard, and like email and all that is not sexy. It's not the vanity metrics that people want to, look at. But that's what's really going to build you a sustainable business that you can just grow into whatever you want and pass down for generations, and that people are actually going to trust you. So give yourself some grace, give yourself, time to get this whole thing going. And I promise you, like, it'll be better than just trying to be a flash in the pan, buy my stuff, and then, ghost people and leave.
Yes. Okay. One more quick story on that.
Yeah.
So, in the sketchy side of PR and marketing, by the way, if you ever like dig into the history of PR and propaganda and marketing, it's woo. It's
Yeah.
the worst horror story you've ever read. But okay, we all know what soap operas are, right? So the moral of this story is you've got to show up. Okay, so we all know what soap operas are, and the reason they're called soap operas is because they were sponsored by the soap companies. And the reason they were sponsored by the soap companies is because those soap companies wanted to build trust with the women. So they were showing up in women's homes every day in the form of these soap operas in order to build that trust, that familiarity, so that those women would then buy from those soap companies. So kind of nefarious, but the key there is, hey, you've got to show up. Part of building trust is showing up and showing up consistently. So since we're talking about things to measure, yes, measure your revenue, but also measure, like, if you say you're going to send out a monthly newsletter, are you? Are
Yeah.
you sending it? If it's a weekly newsletter, are you doing it?
Yeah.
And look, don't be weird and creepy about it. Just send a real story from the farm. And if you're not sure what to write or you're like grappling for it, just be honest about that too. I mean, I've sent many an email going, I have no idea what I'm going to tell you all today, and then something comes up.
Yeah. And I'll give you something that's helped me with this, because, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we all struggle with, right? Is like, what do I talk about? What do I tell people? My life's not that interesting, and they're not going to want to know. But I actually learned this from Dickie Bush. He's a guy that writes, I mean, he's made millions online, but he's also like a really down to earth guy that, writes about progression and personal, achievement and things. And he got me onto this habit, a year ago where I just use my phone in my Apple Note app or whatever app you have or piece of paper, it doesn't matter. But at the end of every day, I write down three, he calls them daily bullets. So I write down three things that happened that day and then three lessons or realizations that I had that day. And so it's saved in my phone as a note, or like I said, do it on a piece of paper. And then that really helps to provide me with some context and content of things that maybe I could write about that week. Maybe that's, something that people would find interesting. And so that's just a little tip I would offer that has helped me. But yeah, there's some weeks where I'm going like, my newsletter comes out every Sunday morning and it's Sunday morning and I'm like, let's just have a stream of consciousness. Like, I don't know, and sometimes those are the ones that do the best because it's so relatable. Like, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to make sense all the time. Like Liz said, just be consistent with your audience. And also, if you say you're going to do something and make a promise, just make sure you do it.
Yes. Charlie, you reminded me of this other farm that I worked with, and the husband on the farm, much older couple, and he had some kind of super brainy real job, so to speak. Not that farming isn't, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, his
Right.
off-farm job was super brainy. And he comes and tells me one day, he's like, and I mean, think like much older gentleman. And he says, I've been taking these notes every day for like 40 years or something. He's like, can I read some of them to you? And Charlie, they were maybe like 4 or 5 sentences each, but I was so completely blown away by how they made me feel.
Yes.
And it's like the so-and-so got out of their cage today. I had to mend the tractor and the blah bitty blah failed. And but even just like 2 or 3 days of that, just like, I can't even put it into words right now. It's just, this gave me this incredible feeling of like, this is somebody I want to be friends with. And of course I admire
Absolutely.
them and all of that. But yeah, just make sure that you're not like making perfection be your goal, or even like, don't let that stop you from doing the thing right in front of you, because it's amazing how relatable even small vignettes are.
Yeah. 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 Because people relate to people and people relate to stories. And so if you can just, write a note about something that happened to you that day, just like Liz's example with that gentleman. And that's the thing too. One last quick story. I don't know if you guys know of Kevin Van Trump. He runs the Van Trump Report, which is a massively popular daily newsletter now. And it all started because he's a farm boy from Missouri. He somehow, found himself in the Chicago Board of Trade, and he was trading ag commodities and ag futures. And most of that industry doesn't know anything about agriculture. And so he would just, send an email out every day to his friends in the Chicago Board of Trade and say, like, hey, here's what's happening today in the corn futures or the cattle futures. Maybe you'll find it interesting. And then more and more people just started asking him for this daily email, because they were learning stuff and they were also, interested to know his opinions on things because he was from the industry. And so it just kind of took off from there. And now I think he makes not to say it's about the money, but I mean, I think he's bringing in like $20 million plus a year from this newsletter, where it just started as a daily email of him documenting what was happening in the market that day and people wanting to hear about it. So there's another example of just write what's going on, write what you know, and you never know what it's going to turn into. So
True story. And it's okay to be average too.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm average. I think
Yeah.
most of us are.
Delightfully so,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie, where do people find you and more of your work?
Yeah. So you can find me on Substack. I go by The Rural Writer. I also have a website with the same name. So just theruralwriter.com. I share, growth and marketing tips for small businesses in the agriculture space. So if that sounds interesting to you, love to have you along for the ride. And I share most of my stuff with my email list. So that's where you can find me. And then you can also always email me Charlie at theruralwriter.com. So
And you also have really nice content about just farm life on there. And
yeah,
some
so
witty
Yeah,
stuff about
every now and then I'm like, "I don't know what to write about, like, let me write about, this pig that didn't wanna walk straight today for my niece," or something like, just random farm stuff, and so, yeah, if you're into that kinda thing too, just what life looks like on a farm, might be interested as well, so
Yes, and okay, so I am Raw Milk Mama on Substack, and website is nourishingliberty.com. And if you are interested, we both have links on our site for finding out more about consulting on marketing. So feel free to reach out to us there. And hey, follow us on Substack. I see some of our other ag community members are on here listening to us. Hey guys, so good to see you on
yeah.
here. Thanks for joining. And
And
Charlie,
then
any
Liz, do
final
you
thoughts?
wanna put, a little plug in for what you're building for if there are agricultural writers on here? You've got something really cool that you're working on.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So um, it is early May 2025. Just put a stamp on that. And it was actually started by Adam. He started promoting or like petitioning Substack to say, hey, us ag writers, we need a category because everything is organized on Substack by category. And when you become a publisher on Substack, you have to self identify under one of their pre selected categories. And so it's hard as an like, I write exclusively ag content, and I had to put myself down as food and drink as the closest one, and other people have to pick other categories. So we've all kind of banded together, and we've been posting and sharing content about, "Hey, we need our own category," so that other writers like us, we can find each other. And so that readers who are looking for specifically, maybe there's somebody who wants to learn about grafting fruit trees, that they can find the agriculture category and then look on there to find what they're looking for. It'd be such a good resource. So I put together a little database where publications can add themselves. And then I'm using that database right now to promote a different writer every day. Hopefully, it will fill up a whole year. I can be doing this every day for a year, but we'll see. I mean, if you are an ag writer and you want to be promoted, add your name to that list. I will do it. Others will do it. We're stepping up as a community to promote each other and show readers where to find agriculture content.
Yeah, I
That
think it's an amazing resource, and that's actually like, Adam posted about it, and that's how I found you, and then that's how, I got on there, and then, yeah, we can definitely share the link in the post of this live, and please, like, if you're in the space, it's an amazing resource that I really think is gonna change how people, can find each other, so,
fantastic. Awesome.
yeah. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
And we'll be back. We're going to dig into each of the topics that we talked about today. So if you are interested in this, if you're a small farm or small food business and you want to learn more about how to promote yourself and how to have effective marketing strategies, just go ahead and follow us. Subscribe if you'd like. Give us your email addresses, right?
Yeah.
And then keep following along for these lives and these podcasts.
Yeah, so lots of good stuff coming up. We have so much to share, between the two of us, tons of years of experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And yeah, we don't make the same mistakes we did. We can help you maybe avoid them and get off on the right foot. So I'm excited to keep, chatting with you, Liz. And it was good to see everyone this morning. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
All right. Until next time.